And speaking of, the Falcons here, one guy that potentially could have had the Falcons job, but they opted to go with Raheem Morris, and now he's coaching Carolina, is Bill Belichick. And Zach, obviously, I was able to give, some reactions to that. I did a show last week and gave some thoughts to it. I still got a lot of meat that I left on the bone, but I want to hand the mic over to you to begin. Will Bill Belichick's resurrection, or excuse me, will he be able to resurrect his career at North Carolina? The mic is yours.
Yeah, Lil. So the more I thought about this, the least surprising it was this news, and the more it made sense to me. I know on the surface, I mean, even when those reports first started coming out that Bill Belichick was even interviewing for this job, it was shocking because you just never thought it would get to this point. But it's clear that the NFL has no interest in him anymore. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that these owners have never been making more money than they are right now. They've never been more in control than they are right now. And when you bring in a guy like Bill Belichick to your building, the bottom line is he's going to be making the majority of the important decisions. And I think being in college now gives him the opportunity to do that. When you're a D1 college football coach in the year 2024, 2025, there are a lot of key decisions that you have to make when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to NIL, when it comes to the transfer portal. And I do think when it comes to Bill Belichick, this is going to be a change of scene for him. And I'm curious to see how he adjusts. He looks very happy there. I just think he wanted to coach football again. And if he was going to wait it out and try to get another NFL job, there was no guarantee of that happening. And I think that he's plugged in enough. He knows enough people where he just kind of read the signs and said, you know what, if I don't take this job, there's a good chance I might never coach football again. And if you're North Carolina, it's a no-brainer. I know that you had Mac Brown, who won a national championship at Texas, but the quality of the program was just not there anymore. And when you have the opportunity to get Bill Belichick as your head coach, that's something you should jump on every time. And I do think there are a lot of NFL teams that should have that same mentality when it comes to him. There's just so much bad coaching in the NFL. We saw a lot of it last night with the Bears. We saw a lot of it last night with the Falcons. I'm just very surprised that there wasn't a single team that was willing to take on Bill Belichick, but I just think that's a poor reflection of the league. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what would a successful stint at North Carolina look like for Belichick. We know he's in his early 70s. He's probably not going to be there for that long, but it looks like his son is going to be the coach in waiting. I think that was something that was important to him, get him on the staff, set him up for success. And the ACC is not very good right now. I know SMU and Clemson are both in the playoff. Miami was a team that just missed, but Bill Belichick has a lot of NIL money at his disposal. And I think North Carolina in a year or two could be right there competing at the top of the ACC. Now, is he going to be able to get to the college football playoff? Maybe. I wouldn't throw it completely out of the picture, but that's not something that's going to be necessarily easy considering North Carolina is a basketball school. But I just think that he jumped at this opportunity because he really did think that it might be his last opportunity. And he just wanted to coach football. That's all he wanted to do. And the fact that this is actually happening is crazy. It's still pretty surreal. But one thing I do know is that every North Carolina game from here on out is must-see TV. We've seen a lot of coaches in college football, big name ones, retire and leave the game recently because they just didn't feel like they were suited for the NIL era. We saw that with Nick Saban. We saw that with Coach K, Roy Williams, and Jay Wright, Jim Boeheim in basketball too. But now you have Deion Sanders and what he's doing at Colorado. Now you have Bill Belichick. I think adding him is just a win for college football to have this big of a name coach now in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think for me, when you talk about Bill Belichick, the reality is the NFL was done with him. And I think, I made that a point of emphasis on my last show that I did. The game is different. It's a different game than the game that Bill Belichick dominated for years, for decades, right? Head coaches that are getting jobs are more player relatable head coaches and innovators, right? You look at potential jobs that could have been available for a guy like Bill Belichick, with the exception of the Cowboys. All those jobs entail salvaging a quarterback or replacing a quarterback. And I don't think Bill Belichick's cup of tea is doing that. And what I mean by those jobs, I mean Jacksonville. Can you save Trevor Lawrence's career? I mean Chicago. can you save Caleb Williams' career? Or I mean, the Giants, could you find a quarterback and develop that quarterback? Or the Raiders, can you find a quarterback and develop that quarterback? In the Cowboys, you have Dak Prescott. You don't need to develop him, but you got Jerry Jones and that dynamic of power. And clearly, we talked about power here and what comes with Bill Belichick. That was never going to be a realistic opportunity, no matter if it should have been. We just got to say no to it. Oh, well, they should have. Well, Jerry Jones never had. No, stop it. End the conversation. He's not doing it. Why are we beating a dead horse? It's not going to happen. Oh, Jerry Jones should leave his ego on the boat. Well, he's not. That's it. End the conversation. So I think for me, it just wasn't a realistic fit for him in the NFL with where the NFL was going. And I think for me, when you talk about the collegiate game and where he's going, I think the collegiate game is just going to be a very big adjustment that I don't know how that's going to pan out. I can't predict it because, coaching at the collegiate game is a different beast. Recruiting, NIL, keeping players from transferring. It's a 24/7 on the clock job that I'm not sure if Bill Belichick at his age could be able to handle that. Not sure he's going to have a team and all of that. But I mean, my guy's dating a teen almost. I mean, 24 years old, he's dating a woman. Do you have time to bond with her in college when you're a college coach? I think that relationship is going to be over by next year. And look, in the NFL, the one thing that you don't have to worry about that you do in college, you don't have to worry about Mike Tomlin coming to your players' living room and trying to get them to join the Steelers. You don't have to worry about that. In college, you have to worry about that because of NIL. And I think when you take a guy like Deion Sanders, a guy that a lot of people would like to compare what Bill Belichick is doing to what he's doing already, the NIL, the transfer portal, worked for him and against him. He got players to join him when he went over to Colorado, and he got the most players in the portal transferring from Colorado in last year's cycle. So clearly, I look at college football like Jenga, the game. You build everything brick by brick. You leverage your name and your likeness, like how Deion was able to do. Oh, I'm Deion, flash and dash. Come over here, join me. We're going to be hip hop. We're going to have the celebrities coming to the games and all that. Yeah. And then guess what? A coach throws a recruiter bag. And guess what? You take the brick and then the whole thing falls. I look at college sports like that. Nick Saban saw that coming, which is why he retired. It was like, okay, I see a storm coming. I'm going to get the hell out of Dodge because it's going to undermine all the good work that I've done for this Alabama program for decades. And Bill Belichick is entering that, and still there's a difference with his age and how he could relate to a 20-year-old or 19-year-old or 18-year-old. So I think there's going to be a very big adjustment, but it's Bill Belichick. We'll see if he's able to work his magic and resurrect his career.
Yeah. And for me, it's just we spoke a lot off the air with our guy Zay too. Like the NFL, it's obviously still great. It's still must-see TV. The playoffs especially, we're going to be into it. But there's just a lot of bad football right now. And there's a lot of bad coaching around the league right now. And there is part of me that wonders, like, I don't know if you saw this report too, but apparently Belichick reached out to the Jets and said, like, he had some interest in coaching the Jets. And I don't know if that's true or not, given how much disdain we know Belichick has had for the Jets franchise throughout the last few years. But I'm just a little surprised that there wasn't one team that said, we are so desperate to win, we're going to bring this guy in. And there wasn't one team that felt that way. And I think that's why Belichick took this job. He wanted to get back into coaching pretty badly. And if you're a high school recruit that's about to play college football and Bill Belichick knocks on your door with his 6 Super Bowl rings, that's definitely something pretty cool and something that you're going to have to value in his pitch. And I'm just curious to see how it goes, because all I know is there aren't a ton of people and names in college football that are as big as Bill Belichick. And I think he's obviously going to have a huge chip on his shoulder after the way things ended in New England. And this is just not something I don't think anyone could have expected. So I don't really feel a certain way about, is he going to have success? Is he not? But I'm just happy that he's going to be out there coaching football again, because the game of football is certainly better with him.
I mean, look, I think when you talk about why he's in North Carolina right now, I explain a good reason, a good part of the reason, the direction that the NFL is headed. But I also think it's a power dynamic too. and an ego dynamic as well. Bill Belichick has the greatest resume that you can have for a head coach. And I know I'm in the field of, I'm in the life in this stage of my life where applying to jobs is a reoccurring 24/7 cycle, right? Especially even if you do have a job, you're looking for the next, right? You always looking to upgrade, right? So I'm in that field and or space in my life. And there is something called being too overqualified for the job. That's a real thing. And I think Bill Belichick has the best resume for the job, but he's overqualified because he has too much power. He had too much power that Robert Kraft gave him, and he's going to be penalized for that power. He's going to be penalized for that ego, and he's going to self-inflict that ego, right? Because think about it. He was offered a defensive coordinator job with Kyle Shanahan in the 49ers. He declined that respectfully. I'm the greatest coach of all time. I'm not taking that. But yet he took the TV route. And clearly that route did not help him out with the goal that he wanted, which was to coach in the NFL again. Now it became, I just want to coach again because he realized that the NFL didn't want him. So now it became, I just want to coach again. But the goal was to get back in the NFL and chase that record of Don Shula. Okay. Everything else he says is politics and optics. Okay. Now he should have took that job, right? Because if we really love coaching, you won't think you're too bigger than, just being a part of a team. Because look, take a guy like Joe Louis in boxing, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. When he ran out of money, he was a casino doormat for a casino. This is Joe Louis here, okay? Imagine walking to the casino and seeing Joe Louis. He had to check his ego. So Bill Belichick had a big resume, arguably the most qualified, but he also had an ego, and the ego fed the owners around the league, and that's why he doesn't have a job in the NFL right now, and that's why he's coaching Carolina.
I also wonder, too, if he has success at North Carolina, especially in his first year, and he still shows that he's got it, would an NFL team then be interested? Because we haven't seen this guy really recently as a head coach, of course, outside of New England. And, of course, the power dynamic does have a lot to do with it. I think he has that opportunity in college, but it just seems like such a weird fit. And I'm not saying he's necessarily eager to leave, but I just feel like if he does get that opportunity in the NFL, especially, he's going to jump on it. And I just keep harping back to the fact that there is just so much poor coaching around the league that I do think there is going to be one team eventually that gets really desperate if he continues to show he still got it, and maybe they would pull the trigger. But I'm just curious to see what this looks like in a totally new environment with all of the control, with a chip on his shoulder, because I don't think Bill Belichick would take this job if he wasn't taking winning as a serious priority. Like, I do think that he really wants this to work. He's going to take it seriously, and we'll have to watch from there.
And this is my last point. We all know that Bill Belichick, and I say everything that I say to say that Bill Belichick still has a great football acumen, a great football IQ, a master defensive play caller, but the reality is he's the complete antithesis of a guy like Deion Sanders with his coaching style and just his markability. Deion Sanders is more flash and dash, and talk water out of a well, and he's able to leverage that fandom and brash and dash and that GTA culture, let's just call it what it is, to his advantage. Whereas Bill Belichick is more known for coaching. He's not what Deion Sanders is. So there's going to be a different style of recruiting. Basically, I'm just using my resume. Look, I'm the greatest coach of all time in the NFL. If you want to get to the NFL, join my program. I'll be able to, systematically put you in positions to succeed and create that pipeline to the NFL. Basically do like what Nick Saban did, which is I can create an Alabama to NFL pipeline. I could do the same thing in North Carolina.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. We've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.